what are the challenges, and then what are your effective approaches in overcoming resistance to change when implementing digital transformation initiatives to mature industries?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and there are you've asked a $1 billion question, which is, digital transformation in any shape or form is definitely very challenging, as you can imagine. Usually, when when you have digital, transformation, one of three problems at a very high level is emerging within the company. The first one is that you probably have too many people working on too much manual work, which could easily be taken by systems and automated through systems. The second is you're typically balancing growth and efficiency. So your business goals are also stretched. You're trying to do both of these things, which does not afford you the option to scale what you did from a manual process standpoint. So you need more automation. And the third is you probably have many systems, old dated systems, possibly a lot of M&A activity that actually brings these many systems in. And it's interesting, Ginny, I'm actually living this right now where we are in the midst of a pretty significant multi-billion-dollar technology and digital transformation for one of our billion-dollar units. And I think, what I have learned through this process is that to really empathize and understand the goals and also how this will impact the lives of the users that actually this transformation will be executed or launched or will be launched to. And what that means is, I think, again, shifting from focusing on just the technology and just the products and the
Mm,
solutions to the people. Transformation at the end of the day is a lot about people, and I think people forget that in a way and focus on just building the
yeah,
greatest AI tool possible. But if it's not usable, or if it's actually
yeah,
makes their life more difficult than actually using a spreadsheet, which by the way is pretty easy to use, we're really not transforming their lives for the better. We're transforming the lives in the
yeah.
reverse. So I think really focusing on the people, focusing on the value that it drives for the people, focusing on understanding and having a clear vision of what that end state would look like for these users
Mm,
and our customers broadly, is, I think, one of the core tenets of digital transformation that at many levels people need to come together on, whether it's at the leadership level, at the middle management level, at the execution, day-to-day level. People really have to come together on that vision. And what is one of the more unfortunate things about digital transformation is that, one, it does not happen overnight. And two, when you're trying to balance these many things, usually that period of change is actually more painful than actually living with the
yeah.
antiquated system. So, managing
Mm,
that change, managing that process of education, training, onboarding, having the right documentation just helps calm nerves a lot in terms of our business users, but also really helps take it to the next level in terms of how we want to empathize with our business users. So that change management aspect of has been really critical as a way for us to be able to break down the barriers of how we have resisted change. So, but really, it's going back to really aligning on the vision of what that change is, how long it would take,
mm,
what would those steps look like. And again, aligning, debating and aligning at many different levels on the scope and the prioritization of it is all really key for us to be able to execute a solid digital transformation. And by the way, there aren't many successful cases of digital transformation. It's most companies go through that in a very painful process. And I do believe some of the common pitfalls are: one, you focus too much on the technology rather than the people; two, not
mm,
enough investment for change and training and documentation; and three, misalignment on kind of what that end goal is. And so, with these three things, I do believe that teams can come together at many different levels for us to be able to execute digital transformation. Because at the end of the day, you need a lot of advocates for digital transformation. It can't just be the technology and the product folks saying, this is the greatest, chatbot tool for us to transform our customer service organization. The customer service teams need to see that, feel that, be
Mm-hmm.
inspired by it, be excited about it, and excited about it to the extent that they will actually invest in the change over the next period of like next weeks or months, how much ever it takes for them to be able to get to a better state. So you need advocates across the board for digital transformation. And so that upfront process of setting the context, setting the goals, aligning on the goals at various different levels, investing in the change with a deep empathy of how this would impact the business users, I think those are really key for us to be able to execute any digital transformation. But this is such a broad topic, Ginny. I mean, I'm happy to
Yeah.
delve into it, any aspect of this a little bit more, because um, you know there's mountains and mountains of like articles and books written on this. It's not an easy topic, but something that possibly every
Yeah.
company and industry will probably go through right now.
Of course. And I would like to dive in just a little bit more deeper on if there's any specifics, because, in asking any change management question, most people's response is you have to focus on the people, you have to focus on the users. So, is there anything specific, whether it's a tool or a tactic, that you can advise people on as they're going through digital transformation?
Yeah, so I think, and this is again from experience of what we're actually living through right now. One of my teams is actually living through. Change management often gets confused with launch management, in the sense, hey, it's 2 weeks to kind of like launching this new feature. And so we're going to like fast track all the work that is needed right now for us to be able to, make this launch successful. So I would advise maybe looking at this a little differently, and that change is really throughout the life cycle of the initiative. It starts with
Mm,
identifying what is that change in the very initial stages of the project, being able to document it thoroughly and clearly with a vision and an end state of what would happen, not only from a systems and a technology standpoint, but like how would their top 10 user actions be, for instance, if they had to go along with this ride for us, with us. And so looking at change more holistically and broadly than just the last minute launch, having clear, thorough documentation on the processes and the training. And specifically, I think going back to having the advocates at every level who can champion this change, so almost like a train the trainer kind of an approach that we
yeah.
need to take, are all tactics that I think can help accelerate and really align teams on digital transformation. And I think that really gets to the heart of what it means to be about the people. Where if it's about the people,
Mm,
one, people need to know upfront. There should be no surprises. It should be clearly documented. And hey, we have to sell it to them. So, it can't just be a technology led initiative. It has to be a cross functional technology and all of the business stakeholders feeling as invested in this, because this will result in the kind of like business benefit from an automation, from an efficiency, from a growth,
mhm.
from an M&A streamlining standpoint, that all of us need to see that picture. And if not, it's hard to just push this as a one team agenda.
Of course, and that creates more long-term sustainability of the business as well.
Absolutely. And so, I think one of the goals of digital transformation is that it is scalable, right? I mean, if today we have an M&A activity of, say, three per year, then that will sustain itself, to double of that velocity. If today we have a certain way of how we're, say, shipping a certain type of product, it has to scale to multiple types of products from multiple types of locations with multiple types of like, carriers. And so I think digital transformation at the heart of it should be scalable. Although I do appreciate if teams take an MVP approach in terms of, what that minimum viable product could be. But I also noticed that, those kind of minimum viable product approaches in more business to business scenarios, the scope of this has to be at least better than what they have right now. And so I would, if there
Mhm.
was an advice that I had to give out there, it would be to anybody engaged in digital transformation to truly understand the experience end to end of business users at that time, however antiquated and manual it is, and ensure that it's being benchmarked against something that is incrementally better, even in the first iteration itself. And I think that's important for
Mm,
them to feel part of that, advocacy,
yeah.
and feel part of, like, the alignment as part of the goal.